The quiet decision. Somewhere in Washington, D.C., a small group of people sits around a table. No election, no mandate. They don't ask for your opinion. And about 8 times a year, they make a decision that will determine whether you keep your job. You probably didn't hear about the last meeting. Most people don't. It was on a Wednesday. It lasted a few hours. There was a press conference afterward. A few charts, a lot of careful language. And then, quietly, millions of hiring decisions changed. This is the story of the federal funds rate. One number, controlled by one institution, that touches almost every job in America. Why this matters right now. Between 2022 and 2023, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates 11 times, from 0.25% to 5.5% in about 18 months. That is the fastest rate of increase in 40 years. The immediate consequences were severe. Companies froze hiring. The tech sector laid off 200,000 workers. The housing market seized up. Small businesses stopped expanding. Economists started arguing about whether any of it was working or whether it had already gone too far. But here's the part that gets strange. The Fed wasn't punishing anyone. This was technically the plan. They were trying to save the economy by slowing it down. To understand why that makes any sense, you need to understand what the federal funds rate actually is. How the system works. Banks are required to hold a certain amount of cash in reserve overnight. Some days, a bank ends up with too much. Another bank ends up with too little. So they lend to each other, overnight, at an agreed rate. That rate is the federal funds rate. Simple enough, but here's where it gets interesting. The Fed doesn't set this rate by decree. They manipulate it. To lower the rate, the Fed buys government bonds, flooding banks with cash. More cash means banks charge each other less. To raise the rate, the Fed sells bonds, draining cash away. Less cash means banks charge each other more. The Fed adjusts the supply until the overnight rate lands exactly where they want it. The ripple effect. Why does an overnight bank rate matter to a factory in Ohio or a restaurant in Austin? Because that one rate is the foundation that every other